Welcome back, everybody. The History Guy here. This is episode 6, playing in the modern day mod, Millennium Dawn, on Hearts of Iron 4 as the Empire of Germany. And haven't made a video for a few days. We are fully deep into the process of moving into our new home. My internet will be arriving on Thursday at the new home, at which point I will be transferring all of my computer equipment to the new office. But I have a little time today to squeeze in a video or two in between moving boxes and furniture and all that fun stuff. So I thought I'd come back with a video. And so we are knee-deep in this war with NATO, between basically the Berlin Alliance and what's left of NATO and other countries. The Dutch are already out of the war. Iceland and Norway aren't far off, and then the United States. And already they have lost 237,000 men on that side. And I'm going to send a small detachment, an expeditionary force, if you will, 24 panzer divisions, and we're going to send them up here to help out with the conquest of Norway. So we're going to see how that all plays out. In the meantime, I'm in the process of befriending Brazil. We're going to see if we can make some allies in South America, which will make things a little harder on the U.S. over in the Western Hemisphere if we can get some of those folks to join. So we'll see how that all plays out, and as anything interesting happens, I will certainly come back and let you see that. All right, well, this is interesting. Just as my first troops land in the my expeditionary force lands in Norway, it appears the war is over there. So we're going to start making our demands. And I don't even really know what it is that I could demand at this point. Well, I've got a score of 320, so I guess I can take all states. All right. No? Oh, we're actually, I guess this is conquering the Dutch finally. Okay, so we're down here dealing with that. All right. And I guess this little piece that's left, we're going to let them kind of stay their own thing, because I can't take it at this point. Or can I? Yep, we can. Okay, there we go. That's the end of that. So the Dutch are now a part of my glorious empire. So we've got all this area. Now back to the expeditionary force, which is landing, which has landed now, all of them, in Norway. So they're going to start helping my allies to press forward toward taking their major cities, taking Oslo, taking Trondheim. And in the meantime, I once again have a trade issue and research happening. All kinds of stuff happening all over the place right now. So things are going quite well. Casualties are almost 2-to-1. Obviously, we outnumber them almost 3-to-1. Or right about 3-to-1, so that's good news. So we should see some good things happening. Of course, the problem is at some point, in order to push this war to the point where it's going to end, we're going to have to take on the United States directly. And that's just not something I'm in a big hurry to do, especially and until China gets involved. Make sure we've got air superiority. We do. We're in good shape there all the way along. So one thing I forgot to do once the war started is go ahead and switch to total mobilization in my economy, which should certainly ramp things up quite a bit. And I've still got a lot of catching up to do as far as production, but I'm starting to make some headway there. You can finally see these numbers are a lot lower than they were as far as the deficit that I have in things that I'm producing. So now I can kind of rethink some of this. I've got 2 full threads of mechanized going, so that should eventually catch up. I think maybe another set of main battle tanks is the way to go. Maybe some self-propelled artillery at some point. So we'll kind of queue that up. I'm going to take a real quick look at trade one more time. Make sure I don't have any surpluses. I don't. I'm up to 71 civilian factories now, which is nice. Let's look at construction for just a second. still queuing up all those forts, although at this point I'm starting to think I'm probably not going to need them. And of course, now that we're at war, we're going to start seeing more and more of this, where we're having to repair infrastructure in some of the areas that I've conquered. Let me see how things look with my availability for more factories. I got a few places that I've conquered that I could build a few more. Not too many, though. Oh, what is this? Call to arms from China. They want to join our war with the one against... I guess they're already kind of one war anyway, so sure, why not? So that makes it all one war right here. So it just adds Taiwan. Norway's just about out of this, so our expeditionary force seems to be helping. We're pressing on. I actually haven't given them orders to move, so there we go. Now we'll start moving. Now we'll start seeing some things happen. We'll start losing some casualties, unfortunately, but that's the way it goes. There's my first 1767. But this war should be over pretty soon up here. Well, we're doing a number on the U.S. And their ability to supply the Norwegians. Just took out 105 convoy ships with this massive fleet, with all these submarines and various other ships. Looks like the French got involved a little bit. So we lost 11 planes, and there it is. Norway has capitulated. Norway's out of this thing. And I guess we just got to take out these little pockets that are being held by probably the United States. Nope. Yeah, so it looks like it gave it all to Poland, which I guess is fine because they've done more of the fighting than anybody else. But we can go ahead and recall the expeditionary force at this point. And then we'll just figure out where we want to go next with these troops. Alright, so a bit of an issue here. I was going to try to return my troops, and there's a major naval battle happening just north of Germany, and it's not going well for me. I've already lost, looks like 13 destroyers, 13 for me, 14 for me now. The Americans definitely seem to have the upper hand in this battle. So it looks like I'm going to have to start focusing on building up my Navy some more if I'm going to be able to do anything beyond convoy raiding. Because when I run into a real surface fleet, it seems like there's some definite issues there. 17 destroyers. That's a good bit of my surface fleet already. So we're going to have to start queuing up some more naval surface ships. See if that helps with some of those issues. Problem is, I don't even have any that I can make. I haven't researched anything. Yeah, that's a real problem. Alright, so we'll have to do that once this is all done. Otherwise, I'm pretty much stuck just kind of sitting at home. Iceland has capitulated. That's good news. So let's see. The war itself is still showing as a draw, because basically you have the U.S. and Taiwan standing against the German Empire, France, China, Hong Kong, Portugal, Poland, Spain, Tanzania, among others. So we'll see if China at any point at all is going to get involved in this beyond just kind of saying they're in the war, because it doesn't appear that anything's happening. Though there are certainly plans for it. Alright, I'm coming back to look at this because this is important. That naval fight that was not going very well seems to have turned, because we got some reinforcements, a couple carriers from the French, a couple French battle cruisers. So we've taken out 2 of the U.S. carriers, including the USS Abraham Lincoln, a bunch of missile cruisers, and a bunch of destroyers. So it's starting to go much, much more in my favor. That's some good news, actually. Glad to see that. So we're going to continue down here. We're going to befriend Argentina, and then we're going to go for allies in South America. And maybe that'll help with some things. This naval fight's still going on. That's another one, separate. So we're going to have to see what my Navy looks like at this point, what I have left, because I don't think it's much. Alright, so I've still got 75, 80 ships left. Obviously, this primary fleet of mine is the one that's going to have to put in and probably get some repairs. This one here is just some frigates mostly. I want to look at research because once advanced rocket artillery is done, we need to look at what's available in naval research. Man, I don't have much at all. Down here, yeah, we haven't even started building some of these big ships like carriers, amphibious assault ships. Gonna have to work on that a little bit. These battleships here, battle cruisers. Okay, something major just happened. India just joined NATO. Because China decided to declare war on the second largest country in the world. Awesome. That's what we need. We need another place for China to have to fight. So I guess nothing much is happening with the war against the U.S. right now just because the ocean separates them and nobody seems to want to really engage in that fight. So let's start focusing on some decent, there's some missile cruisers that I can build. We'll start queuing up some decent weaponry. I've also started building some additional naval dockyards so I can start ramping up my ability to produce a navy. Looks like we've had another major victory here in the North Sea. We took out, wow, ended up being 4 total of his carriers. The Harry S. Truman, the Abraham Lincoln, the Theodore Roosevelt, and the Thomas Jefferson. All of them sunk by my U-boats. 22 of his destroyers, 8 of his battle cruisers, and 65 of his attack aircraft. Dang, that's awesome. All right, so maybe we do want to make sure we keep producing these U-boats because they seem to be doing pretty well against his surface fleet after all. In the meantime, the war is still considered a stalemate. We're going to see massive casualties start. Wow, the U.S. has lost almost as many men as they lost in World War II, pushing 400,000 now. Of course, that may not count dead, wounded, and missing. I don't know how that works because the U.S. had about 400,000 who were killed. So it's hard to kind of understand what that means, but for my purposes, that's what I'm going with. Some more naval combat happening. And this time it's just taking on some convoys, just continuing my convoy rating, which certainly helps things. Casualties now, overall, 261,000 for the Berlin Alliance. Just 1,000 of those are mine. 648,000 for the enemy. And this is kind of cool. I don't know if this has always been the case, but apparently you can see who caused those casualties, which is kind of cool. So the majority of the U.S. casualties came in fighting against France. All of mine came fighting against Norwegian troops. Most of France's have come against the U.S., but now they're starting to rack up casualties against India, who's already lost 190,000. So let's continue now looking at the Navy a little bit. I'm going to start building some carriers. All right, it's November of 2007, and this is kind of interesting because I think Japan's about to get sucked into this war. Japan has refused to hand over the Senkaku Islands. I think that's probably going to lead to that. Looks like Ethiopia seeks investments. I'm not sure what is to be gained by that, but I guess we'll approve it. We've finished off Befriend Argentina. So we're ready to go ahead and work toward allies in South America. We'll see who gets into that. You can see now, Berlin Alliance casualties stand at 357,000. NATO's casualties are about to go over 1 million, half of which is the U.S., but India is coming up fast. China has lost only 184,000 men compared to the 420,000 lost by the Indians. So obviously lots of manpower there on both sides. So that's just going to be a total slugfest. It's not going to be decided by manpower. If anything, it's going to be decided by military technology most likely. And it looks like so far China is getting the better of that. So we've got some free naval dockyards now. And I think for now, at least, I guess we'll work on some frigates. But eventually we're going to build some better ships once I get the technology for that up a little bit. In the meantime, let's look at trade one more time. Everything's good there still. So at some point I'll get my expeditionary force home, but for now they can just kind of hang out up here in Norway. Not a big deal. Looks like the U.S. is trying to land and establish a new foothold there. Maybe we can go after Sweden since we've got the troops up there anyway. They don't seem to have friends anywhere, so why not? We're already at war with the U.S., so what's the big deal? So we'll go ahead and start building up to that. Get a front line here in Norway so we can rush into Sweden when the time comes. Hopefully my allies will start sending some help up there because my 24 divisions are not going to be enough to get that done. And then we'll give an order for offensive line towards Stockholm, the capital. Alright, so I finished up the Berlin class of missile cruisers, so I started queuing up the next one, which is the Stuttgart class. And we're going to continue doing some things here for our ground forces. And now we can upgrade our infantry equipment to modern equipment, so that's nice. In the meantime, I was just noticing how very low my war support is. And I'm not entirely sure what I can do to change that. Japan adopts Article 9, aspiring sincerely to an international peace based on justice and order. The Japanese people forever renounce war as a sovereign right of the nation and the threat or use of force as means of settling international disputes. So basically, if I understand this right, that's because Japan had previously only had a defensive. Ever since World War II, they just basically had a defense force. No large military with which they could wage war. And they're obviously changing that now because we can tell they're kind of gearing up toward a war. I would guess they're going to come in against China, but I suppose we'll see when the time comes. Let's see. They're doing infantry training now, so they're definitely working on getting into this combat in some way. I'm going to start improving relations, though I don't know if that'll actually do anything at this point. We're almost into 2008. And as you can see, the war's still going pretty well in my favor, at least in terms of the casualties. But the field and manpower is almost even now because of India getting into the war. But they've already lost 700,000 men, so we'll see what happens with all that. I think it's pretty much going to be a stalemate for the foreseeable future. At least till we get into going after Sweden, which let's see when that's going to happen. Not until June of 2008, so we got a while until that happens. Okay, so we're about to see what's going to happen with these allies in South America. See if this works with any of them when we're at war. Alright, Brazil accepts. Argentina accepts. Good news right there. So we've got two of the major powers of South America have just jumped in on my side of the alliance. Alright, we're going to look back at what other options there may be here, because there aren't a lot. Alright, this will help. Restore trust in the system. Base war support 5%. It's going to change popularity with some political parties, but that's not a huge deal at all. I need to build my base power back up a little bit because that is making me kind of nervous. Alright, so looking at this now, the enemy is at 1.6 million in losses. His fielded manpower is going down significantly because India has almost lost 1 million men now. Looks like Portugal's almost out of the war. We may need to send some troops down there. These are all my alliance, so I can do that. Yeah, wow, okay. So the Allies have actually taken Lisbon, their capital. So we're going to have to rush some troops down there to help out with this. And honestly, I think for the most part, I'll be okay. Alright, so we've got our Brazil has joined the war. They're requesting to join the war, which is kind of awesome. I didn't have to even ask them. So we've got those two new nations jumping in on things. So we've got our first couple of allies over in the Western Hemisphere to really help out. So we're going to send at least these 18 divisions down to help out with what's happening down in the Iberian Peninsula. Hopefully that can stem the tide a little bit, because it doesn't look like Portugal is able to do it on their own. But even those 18 divisions should absolutely help. And then I'll add some new divisions here and there where I can. Just grab a few here and there. I think 30 divisions is more than adequate to defend the homeland, since nobody is even really attempting to take it. All right, we'll rest those guys down there. We'll stem that tide. That'll help a little bit. Just take a look one more time at where the war stands. 1.7 million losses for him. He's down to just 3.19 million in fielded manpower. Mine continues to rise with the addition of new allies. So even though it's still pretty much a stalemate, long term, I'm thinking we're in good shape. All right, so it's February of 2008, and most of my force that I sent down in the Iberian Peninsula has now begun to arrive. Once this last force is in position, we're going to go ahead and launch our attack and squeeze them off the peninsula. All right, let's go ahead and do it. We're going to destroy, looks like 14 American divisions. There we go. That'll definitely hurt the American war effort, losing those 14 divisions. Alright, let's take a look and see what's happening. Here we got a Lend-Lease. Oh, they're going to send me one M60A3. Thank you so much, Brazil. Appreciate your magnanimous gesture. I'm running out of things I can build, so we're going to start focusing on infrastructure a little bit. I guess we'll start with anybody that's only got 7 or less. Eventually get all those up all the way to 10. Alright. Let's squeeze these guys out of here. See what's happening now. U.S. is up to 564,000 casualties. Fielded manpower for them just over 3 million now. We're up near 6. It's really only 12 on 12 right now. Okay, the U.S. is starting to lose their divisions now. I would guess they're probably just shattering, because I don't think he's pulling them out. I don't see a Navy out there that he can unload on. Here we go. And they're gone. Okay, perfect. They're going to keep on trying to invade, but I want to look real quick and see what's happening over here. So India's actually made some inroads into China. It looks like China's also pushing down into Myanmar. But what's funny is this whole thing started as a war for Taiwan, and they're not even taking it. Looks like they may be trying to invade at this point. Yeah. Hong Kong's attacking with 6 divisions. Alright. I think we'll probably go a few more minutes with this particular episode, because I'm not entirely sure how long it's been so far. But a lot happening, obviously. The next main thing that's going to happen, of course, is our invasion of Sweden. I'm just hoping I have enough troops up there to get it done, because I've only got that 24 divisions. My leaders seem to think so. So we'll see how quickly we can overrun Sweden. I'm going to keep these troops down in the Iberian Peninsula for now, just in case. Alright, our Stuttgart class battle cruisers, I guess they're missile cruisers, are complete. We've got a few things along with that. Looks like already researched. So let's go ahead and go. We're only up to 1980s technology, so we need to keep going before we start building some of these. This will get us up to the year 2000 with the technology. And just looking at the wars real quick, still can't complain. Fielded manpower for the enemy is at 2.94 million. He's lost 2 million. Mine's casualties are pushing 1 million. Fielded manpower, though, still well over 5.5 million. So we're just kind of keeping an eye out for things. We're preparing for the invasion of Sweden, which looks like it should go well. China just kind of continues to be a little bit of a stalemate. Is that a British division? I didn't know the Brits were in on this thing. Oh, you know what? Let's see. No, they're not. Green laser sights are complete. Just doing little things here with my infantry just to kind of make sure that they stay on top technologically wise. We're going to complete our first aircraft carriers pretty soon, but I'm not going to be producing any of those. At least not with that technology. And we're about to finish Restore Trust in the System, which hopefully will help start getting that war support above 7%, where it is right now. Oh, it's up to 12% now. Oh my gosh, what is this? Poland joined the EU. Malta joins the EU. Estonia, Cyprus. Please tell me that doesn't mean that they're leaving my alliance. Let's take a look real quick. No, they're still in the Berlin Alliance. They just joined the European Union. All right, let's see here. Spain's actually already an ally, so it doesn't really do anything there. All right, I guess we start going down here again to open up some more building slots. All right, so while we're preparing for the war against Sweden to develop, I think I'm going to go ahead and start justifying a war against Austria. It's time to unite the German-speaking peoples of Europe under one power. So we'll start spreading that way, and we'll kind of go from there. I think the Czech Kingdom is part of my alliance already. Maybe not. Let's take a look real quick at diplomacy. And just look at the country list. So who is, once again, who is part of the Berlin Alliance? Argentina, Brazil, China, France, German Empire, Luxembourg, Namibia, Hong Kong, Macau, Poland, Portugal, Spain. So none of Central Europe really a part of that. There's my first aircraft carriers. Start queuing them up again here. Almost done with nuclear reactors. Those are about 3 months away, so I can start building some of those. So we're justifying against Austria now. Let's see when that's going to be done. And we got a little autosave happening here. All right, so that's going to be not until February of next year. So should hopefully be done with the war against Sweden by that point. Every so often that pops up and tells me that Taiwan joined NATO. It's happened like 6 times already. Oh, it looks like there's finally an invasion happening in Taiwan. Not going real well so far, but it looks like China, Hong Kong, and Poland. Poland's really been active in this war. I got to give them a lot of credit. They've really done their fair share and then some. His fielded manpower is back up to 3.1 million, so he's obviously doing something to kind of build that back up. We're going to take this episode right up, I think, right just before the invasion of Sweden begins. All right, so we are just about a week and a half away from the justification war goal against Sweden being complete. We're about to finish military build-up 4. And air skirmish, which is our next air doctrine, as well as our level 3 destroyers are about to be complete. So that's kind of where things are going to stand as we wrap this episode up. 1.09 million losses, now 1,110,000 losses for my side in this war. 2 million losses for him. He's got a field and manpower just over half of what mine is. But the war is a complete stalemate so far. It's just the U.S., Taiwan, and India who are a part of it, going up against a lot of the world powers. But and so far, my friends down in Brazil and Argentina, they're not really doing anything. They've joined the war, but I don't really see them actually participating in it in any way. At least not so far. So we'll do that. We'll finish military build-up 5. Let's take a look down here. Is there anything? So we can reduce the production costs of some of these things. Division training time costs. So that might be the way to go here pretty soon, after I finish up military build-up 5. We're going to wrap it up right there, though. It may be, I don't know, maybe as long as another week, maybe hopefully less, before I do another episode in this series. But once I get set up and rolling in my new office at the new house, we'll be back to a regular schedule of uploading videos. So as always, I thank you for your interest in this series. It seems to suddenly be my second most popular, second only to the games I do on Ultimate General Civil War. So thank you for that. And as long as that continues to be the case, I will certainly continue to keep making these videos. So as always, use that comment section below for any comments, questions, criticisms, any and all of those things. I welcome it. Even if you just want to talk about historical things to do with these countries and with war or anything that's even completely off topic, I'm game for it. So use that comment section below. Hit that thumbs up if you want to see more. And if you have not already done so, please subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you again soon.